Assalamu alaikum. I am Dr. Ayaz Afsar, and our topic today is managing your time and research. Objectives of today's session are to clarify your goals and how to achieve them, how to handle people and projects that waste your time, be involved in better delegating your tasks and work more efficiently with your time, and learn some specific skills and tools to save your time and overcome stress and procrastination. Outline of the session is something like this. We'll begin with why managing your time is important, and then we'll move on to set your goals, priorities, and some planning, to prepare to-do lists as a technique to improve your time management. Then we'll discuss how can you save your time by keeping your desks, your paperwork and telephones in order, and then we would look how you can schedule yourself and time yourself, and some techniques to delegate your time and your tasks to other people who can do it for yourself, and if you have to attend meetings, how to prepare agenda for those meetings and how to effectively use your time in meetings, how to use technology, and at the end there will be some general advice for managing your time and your research project. The problem with the time management seems to be a severe problem, and it is with everyone. It is said that people waste their time in many ways, and most of the people spend their time or waste their time 2 hours per day, and these are the signs of time wasting. And those sign wasting things are: number one, there is a messy desk and there is a cluttered of files on your table, and when you want to look at some of the important tasks you want to do, you can't find the appropriate file or the appropriate document. You miss some of the appointments and you need to reschedule them late, or you are unprepared for the meetings if you don't plan in advance. And you volunteer to do things other people should do, and in this way you are wasting your time. And you are tired or you are unable to concentrate, then that is another sign that you are wasting your time. You hear me now, but believe me later. Being successful doesn't make you manage your time well, but managing your time well makes you a successful person in life. So what you need to do to manage your time? For that purpose, you need to set the goals and prioritize your tasks and plan them in advance. And for that purpose, you need to ask yourself some of the questions. For example, for any task to begin, you need to say, or you need to decide why I am doing this. What is the goal? Why will I succeed? What I have done that I will succeed in that task, and what happens if I chose not to do it? These are the preliminary questions before making any plan or starting any project. There is a famous saying by Walt Disney, who said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And you know that Disneyland was built in 366 days, from groundbreaking to first day open to the public. So that shows that there was a plan, a schedule, and the breakup of the tasks which were manageable. And if you don't plan, it means that you are planning to fail. So what should be done? That you need to plan each day and each week and each semester. And you can always change your plan, but only once you have one. If you don't have a plan, you actually have a plan to fail yourself. To make plan, let's begin with what people do every day. At the beginning of the day, you can prepare a list. The people who plan their time efficiently, they prepare to-do lists and keep in their pocket. To break things down into smaller steps means that if you look, for example, at Disneyland, that was such a big project. If you look at such a big project of a building, you can't, it is daunting. You can't see that it can be built in maybe a decade. But if you look at some parts of it in different stages, which can be managed within weeks and months and year, that would be manageable. So the purpose is that the list you have to do, for example, you have to do shopping. For a shopping, if you have a to-do list of what you have to buy or what you have to do that day, and then you put them in a priority. First you will buy this one, then you will move on to the other item, and then the other item. Then it will be a sequence, and it will be easy to do, and you won't forget it. The other thing you need to look at the to-do list is don't take the easiest things first. It's important that you do or start from the ugliest or the hard things first, the things you don't want to do. If you have done the hard things, then you'll get a new energy, a new spirit, and you'll be able to do the easiest things later on. Well, you'll see here that is a quadrant. So when you prioritize your work, you keep it in your mind. So you'll see here that in this quadrant, you have number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 here. That's box number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. It is a way to prioritize your work. So on the left you see that is important task to do, and then you have not so important tasks to do. So if you have to prioritize the task, so look, something which is very important and it is due soon, so it should be given priority number 1. If something is important but it is not due soon, I mean there is no hurry to submit it right now, then it should be given priority number 2. And if something is not important but it is due soon, so it should be given priority number 3. And something is not important and it is not due soon, so that should be given priority number 4. So it is related with the to-do list and in what order you need to do it. Let me give you one example for that one. If we say that something is important and not due soon, for example, you have to write a research project or your thesis or maybe a dissertation. So that is very important for you to get the degree. But for that you may have 1 year or so or more than that. So it is not due soon. So as compared to that one, if there is some accident and you can help someone, it seems to be that it should be given priority. It is emergency. Okay, so it should be given priority number 1, leave all other things and attend to the emergency. This is just an idea that how you prioritize your work, and you should always keep that the most important task, most important goal should be given most of the time. Okay. Paperwork, I started with some cluttering of the messy desk in the beginning. That is basically the most prominent way of wasting your time. Clutter is death and it leads to thrashing. So you need to keep your desk clear so that you can focus on one thing at a time. To keep your desk clean and clear and tidy, you need to develop some of the things. First of all, there should be a good file system, and it is essential to keep the important documents. Then you need to touch each piece of paper only once. If there is an email, you need to read it, respond it, and finish. And your email box shouldn't be cluttered. So in modern times, you can say that your email box is just like your desk. It shouldn't be full and cluttered, and your mail is lying for many weeks, and most important things may be buried there. So as you need to clean your desk, you need to clean your email box. Here are some examples of how to make your reading place or a study table clean and tidy. And you can look at this photograph, and here you will see that there are few things on the desk. There is enough light just to read here, and you have more than one computers and different tasks maybe on different computers, and they can help you in doing in the right order or sequence. There is another, how tidy the study table is, and there is a view outside, and there is a light, enough light to look at, and you see that if you leave a message here. So that is an orderly, clean and tidy study table. You have only one notebook to take notes or make notes, and you have a computer and your file is properly arranged and you're taking information from one and maybe preparing in the other one. This is another view of the same table, and the idea here is that there are fewer things on your table, they are cleanly set, and now you are in a position to start a fresh start and think, and there will be creativity and there won't be much distraction there. I've just mentioned that there are certain distractions. There are always distractions, and one of them is the telephone. So how to manage your phone effectively? There are certain points to keep in your mind. First of all, you need to keep your call short, okay? And it's better you stand during the call, okay? Next, you start by announcing goals for the call, that why are you making and how long it will take, and you should have something in view that you are waiting to get to the next, so it will give you an idea how to make it cut it short and move on to the next task. So keep your call short, and one technique is you stand up during the call and you tell the person that you have an important work to do, so make the call short. Then you should have a plan for reading. So read only those things which are important for you, your textbook, or something which is required for your research project. It is said that most of the people who work and who plan their work and they effectively use their time, they don't read rubbish. Note that the periodicals and routine reading is different from doing some real research and in-depth reading which is required for your research project. Next, to manage your time is to time yourself. So if you don't find time, you don't find time for important things. You actually make it, okay? There are different sayings about time, and people have mentioned that how they manage their time. For some people, time is just a possession. So you would have heard, and I read it for you, some important quotations for about the time. You would have heard people who say, I haven't time for that. I haven't time for that. It's just like saying, I haven't enough money. So it means the time is a possession. You possess it as you possess any other object. You would have heard, I can't make time to do that. Okay? It means that time can be manufactured. And some people you would have heard, there's never enough time. It means that time is a commodity. It can be bought and it can be kept. Time is against us. You would have heard that. The time is not on our side. It means the time is against us. It means the time is a physical entity. And if you say time is on our side, it shows that we can own time. Okay? And if some people have this motto, we have all the time in the world, some more sayings like time waits for no one. It means that time is inconsiderate. So you must have your own motto or your own idea about the time. If you don't have, you need to one. I would like you that you write what do you understand by time, and what do you think is time for you. Okay, let's move on to the next point, that time is all these things which are mentioned in those quotations. So everything you do takes time, and it is an opportunity and the cost of some time. So if you link it, what I have said already, that you need to prioritize, so you have to learn to say no sometimes. It is a good thing to be flexible and give equal time to everybody, but there comes a stage that you can't give time to everybody and equal time to every action. So you need to learn when to say no, and you have to learn that you have to say no to your friends sometimes, and sometimes say no to yourself. So learn to say no. So if by saying that, you'll say, why are you saying no? Because you don't have enough time. You are using that time to some other purpose. So make a decision. Will this saying no help you to get your job? Will this help you get your master's degree? Will this help you to get your PhD degree? Or which is important for you? To please your friends, or to get the time or the job, or the success in life? So this decision is up to you. Everybody has got 24 hours. So you have to manage time and to give time to the things you want to achieve in your life. So you can say that there are some, in 24 hours a day, there are some good times and there are some bad times. So you have to find your creative and thinking time. It is said that in everybody's life, every day there is some peak time when your faculties and your enthusiasm to work is at the peak, where you can do the tasks or the jobs which need creativity or thinking. You need to find that creative time or the thinking time for yourself, the peak time, when you have you are in the higher spirits. And you need to defend that ruthlessly. And you do the most important task during that period. And you need to find the bad time for you, or the dead time for you. And you use that time where the tasks or the jobs don't require thinking or creativity. That time could be given to the meetings or the phone calls or everyday chores or mundane stuff during that time. When you are working on a project, on a research, you need peace and tranquility. And if you are interrupted, you lose concentration and focus. It is said that if you are interrupted during your creative work from 6 to 9 minutes, it will take 4 to 5 minutes to recover, to start from where you left, you were interrupted. And if there are 5 interruptions, that will take 1 hour of your creative work. Okay, so you must reduce frequency and length of interruptions, and that is you can do by turning phone calls into email. And by that I mean that instead of telephoning and someone, if you can write an email, that would be better. Then you can cut some of the things short. How? If you have started a conversation on the phone, you can say that I'm in the middle of something now on a telephone, indicating that you are busy, you are doing something important, and you don't want to continue the call. Or you can start your conversation on the phone by saying, I only have 5 minutes, and you can always extend the time, extend this, maybe I have 6 minutes or 10 minutes, so that people should know that you are not free, and they don't prolong their call. Another technique is that you stand up and stroll to the door and you compliment them, you thank them, or if they are the visitors, you need to shake hands with them. These are the clues that you want to end the conversation and you don't have more to say, okay, and you want to get rid of them basically. There is another technique to look at the clock. You could clock watching. Again, that would give the other person an indication that you want to cut off or you want them to leave. You might have some other things to do. Here I would suggest that you do some discovery for yourself by doing some research on yourself, and that is a kind of personal research. That would be, how do you spend your time, maybe in a day and in a week, okay? And I hope that you will learn some amazing things about yourself. So for that purpose, you make a journal or a diary record, and you monitor yourself in 15 minutes increments between 2 to 3 days and 2 weeks. I mean, you can practice for 3 days, or you can extend this to maximum 2 weeks. The purpose is that you make a diary and a table, and on it you write for every 15 minutes, what did you do? That could be, you can say that you read a book, 15 minutes, half an hour, you talk to someone, you slept for some time. It won't be when you are sleeping for 15 minutes. That would of course be 6 hours or 5 hours you slept. It is for the waking time. If you are going to say your prayers, for example, and you met someone, you say that you met someone and you talk about, you chat for some topic, and you need to note down. If you were traveling, you can write it, that how long did it take you to travel, or it takes you every day to travel, okay? And that shouldn't be at the end of the day. It's better you keep that diary with you in your pocket, and you need to update it after every half an hour, what you did, okay? It doesn't mean that you note down which you think are important things. It should be whatever you do, okay? Purpose is to find out how much time you have, how much time you spend on what type of task, and that is a kind of personal research. You can ask some of the questions about the data you will gather by doing that research on yourself, by asking questions like this: what am I doing that doesn't really need to be done? Say after 1 week, you have found that how many hours you spend on sleeping, how many hours you spend on traveling, how many hours you gave to your family, social activities. Yeah. So everything you have. So what are you going to do with data? You are going to analyze that data, and you are saying, what did you do, and what you really need to improve your time and spend it more useful way. So you can ask another question: what I am doing that could be done by someone else. So you would have a data or a record what you have done. Now you are making a plan. Was it possible that someone else would have done it for you, and there was no need for you to do it yourself? And later I will discuss that is called delegation, delegating the task to other people who can do it for you. Next question you can ask about the data you have collected: what am I doing that could be done more efficiently? And what do I do that wastes others' time and you don't do it again? Next important topic, which is discussed in managing your time, and which is with the problem with everyone, is called procrastination. And according to Edward Young, procrastination is the thief of time. So let me explain what is procrastination. Procrastination is basically delaying something. There are many considerations for that one. There could be one consideration that you don't have sufficient skill to do it right now. For example, you are writing your project, you are writing an assignment, you think that you haven't done enough reading. You'll read that book, and after that you'll read some reference book, and you'll read more, and maybe you'll improve some of your writing skills, and only then you'll be able to write a very good assignment. So what basically you are doing, you are delaying the task which is very important. And this leads to procrastination. Procrastination means that you avoid doing something, and you continuously putting it off to some other day. So you need to avoid procrastination, because doing things at the last minute is much more expensive than just before the last minute. And deadlines are really important, and establish them yourself. So for your research project, you need to set some deadlines for each stage of your research project. And if you don't meet those deadlines, or you don't set those deadlines, you'll never be able to complete your project. So it's better to set the dates and the deadlines, and then think about whether you achieved those goals and you met those deadlines or not. Then you have to find your comfort zones. Comfort zones is a term in business management. It is used that some people like to do certain things, okay, and they avoid doing some other kinds of things. So you have to find yourself. What are the things you don't like to do, but they are important for your research. So you have to do some personal research by collecting the data, as I mentioned earlier, and you have to identify why you aren't enthusiastic. Is it because you have a fear of embarrassment? Or you think that you will fail it? So it's better to analyze the situation and get a courage to do it. And for that purpose, you keep the worst scenario and start from there. For example, if you think and say, what would happen? I will fail. Then what? I'll try it again. So there won't be a problem later on, because you started from the worst, and whatever happens will be better than the worst. So you need to come out of your comfort zone and start from, as mentioned earlier, that the ugliest thing first. Try to find out what is bad you don't want to do, and that is important. So concentrate on those areas which you don't like to do, and during the time which is the peak time or the creative time for you. And if you have done the ugliest, the hardest job or the part of your research, the easier would be done without much effort. Then you need to learn how to delegate your time and how to delegate your task. So no one is an island. And what do I mean by that? No one is an island. And if you recall, you see Robinson Crusoe's story, where you have to do everything yourself. So no one is an island means that you are not alone. There are many people around you who can help you to lessen your task or difficulty. So you need to learn how to use those people and delegate your task so that someone may do it for you. And with the help of other people, you can accomplish or achieve much more than you can do it by yourself. And if you are in a teaching profession, who are the people who can help you? There are other teachers, your faculty members, or they can be your staff, or they could be other students who might do some of the things for you which are important for research. So delegation, that is passing on tasks to someone who can do it, who is able to do it, is competent enough to do it, doesn't mean that you eliminate it or you dump it. And when you delegate, you need to keep certain things in your mind. First of all, you need to give authority with the responsibility. Okay? You need to give concrete goal, set a deadline, and tell what would be the consequences. And you treat the people who are doing it for you well. And as mentioned earlier, that graduate students and secretaries and the faculty are your lifeline, and they should be treated well. One more thing about delegation is, delegation doesn't mean elimination. Delegation means that your task is important to be done. And delegation means that there is another competent person who's a trustworthy, and he can do as good as you can. So when you delegate tasks, you need to give the full responsibility to the person and trust the person. That person would do it for you. You carry on with delegating until the people complain and they are no more ready to do it. So you need to challenge people. So communication must be clear. By that means that the person you are delegating your task should be told clearly what is expected to do, and that should be given in writing. So you need to give objectives or the purpose, but not the procedures how to do it. That's why I mentioned that you trust the person you are delegating the task. You give the objective, not how to do it. And you need to tell the person that the importance of the task. That's enough. And don't tell the procedure how to do it. If you have to attend a number of meetings, because meetings waste a lot of time, so what you need to do? It is said that an average executive spends more than 40% of his time in attending meetings. What you need to do for the meeting and how to effectively use the one and your time is better to you lock your door, you unplug the phone, and people don't call for emergency meetings or just meetings. No meeting should continue more than 1 hour, maximum 1 hour. You try to complete within an hour, and for that purpose you need a clear agenda for the one. There should be an agenda, and if there isn't, you ask the person who is calling for the meeting what would be the agenda, and then stick to the agenda. 1 minute minutes, an efficient way to keep track of decisions made in a meeting. Okay, and that should be properly written in the minutes, that who will be responsible, what, for what, and by when. So that would be a record, and there would be a follow-up. Technology is also a way to save your time, or sometimes waste your time. So how to control technology? Laptops, computers, you can use a lot of time, you can carry them, and you can easily use them. And there must be a plan how to use that. And if you don't use properly, there might be nuisance or creating problems instead of providing ease. You need to do some of the research on the internet, and one of the search engines, say Google, now you can do search with the images as well, and you have a digital library, and people would say that nowadays there are more books available on the internet in the digital library as compared to the books in a traditional library which physically exists. Okay, so you must be aware of the technology and use technology to save your time. Instead of visiting a library, if you have access to the digital library, you can have an access from your desk. Another time waster is the email, and there are certain tips how to improve your email box or how to use emails effectively. If you want somebody to do something, then send email to only one person, not all. The reason is that if you send more than one to do it, there are chances that the people would think that someone else might do that. So there should be only one recipient. In your email, if you request, that should be clear, the task should be mentioned, and deadline should be set for that. If you really want that something should do or act upon and respond to you, is better you send a CC, a copy, to someone who is powerful and in an authority, or maybe a senior, maybe in a senior position than the person you are sending email. So if you want that the work should be done, but I said that you also need to send a copy to the person who is higher in authority to whom you are sending email. Then nagging is okay, and nagging means that you continuously follow your case. It is usually said that if somebody doesn't reply within 48 hours, he or she probably will never respond. So in those cases, if you don't get to respond within 48 hours, it's better you send them a reminder and a phone call. So there are general advice. That general advice is related with kill your television. So keep in your mind, how badly do you want job or your degree? I mean, watching television is a waste of time. And people don't realize how many hours they have spent on television without realizing. So turn money into time, especially important for people with kids or other family commitments. And it's better you eat and sleep and exercise properly. There should be a balance in your life, and it is above all else. Another general advice is that you should never break a promise, but renegotiate them if need be. Means that if you promise you couldn't do in time, it doesn't mean that you break it and never come back to the person. You need to find a way to renegotiate and ask for another date. If you haven't got time to do it right, it means you don't have time to do it wrong. You don't have time. And you keep in your mind that most of the things are either pass or fail. So looking for the excellence or only the excellent standard is not required. Sometimes it is just required to do it. And there would be either succeed or a fail, the binary. There is no other way. So it's better to do something than to never do it. There are certain recommended readings on this topic, and one of them is the 1 Minute Manager by Kenneth Blanchard and Spencer Johnson are the writers. And the other famous book, which gives you a lot of inspiration and how to manage your life in a balanced manner is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. So what you need to do at the end of this session, I would say that there should be some action plan for that one to improve your time, your personal time and your time for the research. And for that purpose, you need to get a day timer, okay, personal development. And if you don't already have one, you need to prepare, where you keep a record of your time. And you start keeping your to-do list in 4 quadrants, as we discussed earlier, that which got the priority number 1 or 2 or 3 and 4. So you make a do list, prepare a list of the tasks you need to do, and then you prioritize those tasks. And the task which will be given number 1 priority should be given more time and the best time of the day. You need to do a time journal, or at least record number of hours of you spend on each task every day, watching television in a week, sleeping, socializing, and such things. Well, that seems to be the end of this first part, but I would like to add something more here, and that is about one principle that is called Pareto principle. And the Pareto principle in business is important. It is in the name of a person whose name was Pareto, and he did some research, and he found that most of the people in most of the situations are such that there are 20% people who are effective in any company, and 80% the irrelevant. I mean, not so relevant people. Let me say it again. This is called the Pareto principle, and it is a key principle in time management, and it is usually called 80-20 rule. It was in 19th century Italian economist whose name was Vilfredo Pareto, and he observed that significant items in a group seem to form the smallest proportion of that work. Means that 20% of workforce does 80% of the work, and 20% of any document, especially if you look at application or a letter, it contains 80% of the relevant information in a box, and 20% covers the most important information, 80% may be blank, information that is not so important. And 20% of a company sales accounts for 80% of its profit. So applying this rule, Pareto developed a plan for the time management. And his idea was that we should do 20% of the work which pays 80% of the job, which will pay you 80%. Instead of doing 80% of the job or the time spent, and you get 20% of the results. So that is a Pareto principle, which helps you to prioritize those tasks which will pay you more and which are important for you. The results would be 80%. You are doing 20%, but results is 80%. Instead of doing such types of tasks where you are spending 80% of your time or energy and you are getting only 20% of the results. So you need to revise your grid and concentrate on the priority grid, that you should give much more time to those items which give you more results, higher results, and they pay you better. One more thing I would like to clear here, that is about the peak time. I said the peak time is usually calculated that some people have a peak time, I mean where they have more energy or creativity or fresh mind, that starts usually from 6 a.m. in the morning to 11 a.m. Then there is a certain dip, a shortfall, and then there is again a certain peak. For some people it is at 1 p.m. and usually the time between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. for most of the people seems to be the time where their energy is low, or their creativity and thinking is at the minimum level. So if it is your time, you should do the most important work during the time that is between 6 to 11 and then up to 1 o'clock. And most of the work which you don't want to do, which is not paying you well and which doesn't need creativity and thinking, you should do between 4 to 7. But there are no hard and fast rules about the time. You have to find the peak time for yourself, and you have to identify your energy cycle, when that energy cycle is at the highest or at the peak. So you can put, you see, the task into different categories: task A, task B, task C, and task D. Say task A is most important, so you have to do those tasks during that peak period. Then you need to set some objectives for yourself, and the objectives could be set for a day, for a week, for a month, or maybe for a year. So when you are setting tasks, those should be realistic ones, and they should be achievable, and they could be measurable, and they should help at achieving your overall goal. That is another way of analyzing yourself. For doing any job or planning any project, you need to do your analysis. And one famous analysis for any plan or planning action is called SWOT analysis. SWOT, S-W-O-T. And by SWOT analysis, it's an abbreviation, it is an acronym, where S stands for strengths, W stands for weaknesses, O stands for opportunities, and T stands for threats. So for any plan, action plan, you need to do your SWOT analysis. You think about that. What are your strengths? S. What are the skills, experience, and your achievements which may help you in gaining that goal? Then look at what are your weaknesses. What do you lack? That is your weakness. The skills you don't have, or hurdles in your way, which may prevent you in achieving that goal. And the third one, what are the opportunities? If you plan and you succeed, what will you get? What are the opportunities? The job opportunities, maybe your future prospects, maybe change of career. And then what are the threats? Who are your enemies? Enemies not in the sense of a person. I mean, anything which stops you, which is a hurdle in your way. By doing that, what would be the constraints which would not allow you to achieve those goals? And when you have done this analysis, your SWOT analysis, you will be in a position to make a better judgment. You will be in a position to make the best plan or action. You can make a plan like this, that you make like a quadrant we discussed before, that there should be some strengths in one box, and you write some weaknesses in the other box, and the opportunities in the third box, and the threats on the fourth box. And then you try to make a balance between the two and come up with the ideas which best suits you, and which will take you to that Pareto principle, that you will be doing 20% of the work, but the results will be 80%. Instead of keeping yourself busy in the tasks which actually don't matter much, which you pay off little, but taking most of your time. At the end, I would like to do an action plan for yourself by setting some goals for yourself, some specific objectives to achieve those goals, and an action plan with the dates, by putting some stages when that stage will be accomplished, and then a deadline when you finally submit your plan. We are almost at the end of this session that was about managing your time and research, and I think that you would have learned some of the techniques and some of the ways to improve your time management skills. Keep in your mind that everybody has got just 24 hours. You can't increase that. You have to decide how you spend those 24 hours daily, or 168 hours in a week. And by setting a plan and the deadline, you are in a position to achieve your aims, your goals within a time frame. So if you don't have a plan, as you have noticed, it means that you have already a plan basically to fail yourself. Now it is in your hand whether you want to fail yourself or you want to succeed. So if you have a plan, you can change it. But if you don't have a plan, you can't do anything. You have planned to fail yourself. So for research, it's important that you have a plan, and that is broken down into different stages. Smaller tasks, for example, finding information about the research, reading books, making and taking notes, preparing an outline, making a hypothesis, doing some critical reading, okay, and then collecting data, analyzing data, and writing the first draft. So there should be certain deadlines and they should be time bound. I hope that you would have learned a skill which is not only important for research, but it is to become a successful man, a successful person, by adopting a proper plan and controlling your time. That is the end of the lesson today. We'll meet next week with a new topic. Thank you very much for listening.